Welcome back to seifbuys. I'm Saif, and today I wanted to walk you through what no doubt is the best Thunderbolt 5 dock for MacBook Pros on the market right now. I have done this spiel before. I've reviewed virtually every dock worth reviewing. This channel was never created with the intent of being a dock review channel, but I just got into it with my whole workflow here for YouTube. Got really obsessed with improving every little efficiency. And yes, these one cable solutions allow me to run this whole setup here. You got the light bar, we've got a 4K webcam at the top, we've got a bunch of SSDs and enclosures, two monitors, my LG Dual Up and my 4K OLED over here. In order to make this whole thing run, as well as connect the camera to the computer and get this whole setup going, I need the best dock money can buy, and I have obsessed over this for a very long time. Comparing all these docks, probably spent way more time than is reasonable. I can conclusively say that the iVANKY FusionDock Max 2 over here is currently the best Thunderbolt 5 dock on the market, bar none. I will get into exactly why you would want to buy this over the other docks, and will tell you why this 20-port beast of a Thunderbolt 5 dock has basically improved my workflow 5 times over. I just want to clear the air here. While this video is definitely sponsored by iVANKY, they get no say over what I do or do not say. These are my genuine, unfiltered thoughts. In fact, if they actually watched this video, I imagine they would tell me to tone it down a little, because the result of my testing is just so very conclusive in favor of the iVANKY FusionDock Max 2. So you are going to hear me talk a big game about this, but it actually just performs that well. That's why I'm talking so highly about it. But this video is sponsored by iVANKY, but I'm the one who insists that I need to compare it to other products. That is not something they generally ask you to do. I already had the Caldigit TS5 Plus. They sent me the FusionDock Max 2. The Caldigit TS5 Plus is already extremely hot in my hand. I have a lot to say about this. There's obvious reasons why you would want to go for a Caldigit dock, specifically if you are on PC, if you want a 10 gigabit Ethernet port. I'll get into that later on. Just know that these are my unfiltered thoughts, and I'm not trying to be biased here. And what will make this review different than the others out there is I'm going to talk to you about practical experience. I have an M3 Max 4TB MacBook over here that I've tested these docks on. I have my M4 Max over here with obviously the Thunderbolt 5 cables. So I've tested it on both. I will let you know if you have an M3 Max or lower, what the recommendation is versus if you have an M4 Max or higher, maybe the M5 Max and the M5 Pro chips when those come out soon. So that's the difference. I'll give you practical inputs here, not just reading the spec sheets. However, if you're just looking for the conclusion, I don't want to waste your time. If you are only using MacBooks and Macs and you're in the Apple ecosystem and you don't intend on using a PC ever, like me basically, the iVANKY FusionDock Max 2 is currently the best buy if you're on M4 Pro or Max MacBook. If you are on an M3 Pro or M3 Max or anything lower than that, you can go ahead and save $100 up front by getting the iVANKY FusionDock Max 1, which I reviewed last year. And that one is a 20-port beast of a dock, and it still is highly functional. And as far as an M3 Max MacBook is concerned, basically you're getting no additional benefit by going for the Thunderbolt 5 dock when you plug it into an M3 Max MacBook Pro or anything like that. So you're limited basically by the ports on your MacBook. The USB-C ports on your MacBook, they're either Thunderbolt 4 or they're Thunderbolt 5. And the only Thunderbolt 5 capable MacBooks right now are the M4 Pro and the M4 Max MacBooks. Another thing quick special about this video, I'm actually gonna tell you my experience using an actual Thunderbolt 5 SSD, which can take full advantage of the Thunderbolt 5 speeds of these docks, because most people are probably using it with whatever SSDs, and these don't even come close to utilizing the full capacity of Thunderbolt 5 speeds for data transfer. So this $900 Thunderbolt 5 SSD enclosure from Acaci plus the NVMe SSD inside of it, it's a $900 setup to get this. So I can't imagine a lot of people are actually utilizing these docks to their maximum capacity. But when you do, it's quite remarkable. And that's what you're getting in this video. Currently running all of this through a Caldigit TS5 Plus in order to review the iVANKY FusionDock Max 2 here with you. In order to get all this running, you need the best dock money can buy, including I have my camera currently. The way I'm looking at you right now is through, again, this dock over here, and it has to be able to do all that simultaneously and not throttle, not have any issues, basically make my workflow seamless, make it so that I wanted to take my MacBook and go, I can literally just unplug one cable. Ooh. I believe I just unplugged the cable. Snap. I unplugged the cable. No bueno. Sorry, technical difficulties. The whole thing just crashed. And what you're seeing happening here didn't happen with the FusionDock Max 2. I had to downgrade to the Caldigit TS5 Plus in order to just film this for you guys. So my apologies. What is going on? Something's wrong. I'm glad we got this on camera. What you're witnessing is what happens when your dock can't handle above and beyond what you put in it. I'm using virtually every port on this Caldigit TS5 Plus, and it's just not cooperating right now. One sec. All right, we're back. We are live. Sorry about that, and funny enough, that was a perfect example of what happens when your dock just is not up for the task at hand. And what I can confirm is that what just happened there happened to me twice with the Caldigit TS5 Plus in the last 2 hours, whereas with the FusionDock Max 2, that did not happen at all. Granted, the FusionDock Max 2 is catered towards Macs with silicone chips only, and if you are spending this kind of money on a dock, I imagine you do have a silicone-based MacBook chip. That is the limitation here of the iVANKY FusionDock Max 2 in comparison to the Caldigit TS5 Plus. Also, the FusionDock Max 2 is about $100 cheaper, and it has a 2.5 gigabit Ethernet port instead of a 10 gigabit Ethernet port on the Caldigit TS5 Plus. However, in my experience, including right here on camera, this one will fail a lot less when used with a MacBook Pro, specifically for my setup. I don't know what your setup is, but we just witnessed it firsthand here. Also, another thing to note about the Caldigit TS5 Plus, while I was getting ready to film this, another weird thing happened, which I'd never seen before, where actually it happened twice with the Caldigit TS5 Plus, where the MacBook screen blacked out, even though it was connected to my displays. For whatever reason, I'm putting on screen right now, the MacBook display just wasn't turning on, and I had to restart the MacBook to get the display to turn on again. So that happened a couple times with the TS5 Plus, hasn't happened with any of the other docks. I'm sure they'll fix it. The iVANKY is also offered right now at $399 US compared to the Caldigit TS5 Plus's $499 US. The iVANKY has one additional port, one additional usable port compared to the Caldigit TS5 Plus, and it's got way more ports than the previous Thunderbolt 5 docks that I reviewed, which are the Anker Prime Thunderbolt 5 dock here, which has like 14 ports, and the Caldigit TS5 regular, which has, I believe, 14 or 15 ports as well. Those two docks are going for around $399 US. This one is $399 currently on the Black Friday sale, plus you can get 10% off additional using my code SAFE10OFF. So if you use that code SAFE10OFF, I'll put the link in the description. When you buy the FusionDock Max 2, you can get it for $399 US minus 10% off. I believe that lands you at $359 US for the FusionDock Max 2. That's on par or cheaper than the current sale price of the Caldigit TS5. Definitely cheaper than the TS5, but way more ports and way more stability in day-to-day use. I'm not gonna say it's perfectly stable. I definitely had crashes with this, but way less than these other Thunderbolt 5 docks, and I've reviewed every single one that's worth reviewing in depth, used day in, day out. So these aren't things where I'm gonna get the product, I'm gonna unbox it with you on video and then try and give you my impressions up front based on how many ports it is. Like, you have to use them. And in fact, in order to make full use of these Thunderbolt 5 docks versus Thunderbolt 4, I went ahead and bought a $900 SSD enclosure with an NVMe SSD from Western Digital in there, the SN850. And this allows me to utilize the Thunderbolt 5 docks to their maximum capacity when it comes to transferring data. If you're using what I just replaced with this one $900 thing, this combo package here, if you want to know what this consists of, just let me know in the comments, or I'll put it in the description actually. But it replaced these three SSDs, and this is an 8 terabyte one. It holds more storage than this one, which is 4 terabytes, SanDisk Extreme Pro, the SanDisk Extreme, which is 500 gigabytes, this one. And we have a 1 terabyte Samsung T7. This thing over here, through the iVANKY FusionDock Max 2 and through the Caldigit TS5 Plus, as well as any of these Thunderbolt 5 docks, it's actually able to do 6 times the data transfer speed. So when I'm transferring 4K video files, it is night and day difference when I'm using this thing. And in fact, I moved everything from all these little mini SSDs, which were just taking up ports for no reason, into this single one over here. Is that a single point of failure? Yes. but honestly, I just care about efficiency more than I care about data integrity when I'm just filming YouTube videos. So I will tell you about that experience as well. And it was a crazy night and day difference when you are basically transferring stuff from your MacBook over to this SSD and back and forth versus doing it with any one of these over here, which aren't compatible with Thunderbolt 5 ports. They don't do 80 gigabits per second. They are limited. I believe the Extreme Pro is the best one, and that Extreme Pro one, it does gigabits per second, I believe, is as high as it goes. Plus, also with all these SSDs and stuff, you have to make sure you have a cable which supports the max speed, but all these cables are inferior to a Thunderbolt 5 cable in terms of the max data throughput. So anyway, we'll get into all that later on. Let me just continue. I'll just state the pros and the cons up front here so you could just make your purchase decision. It's the only triple display Thunderbolt 5 dock. So compared to the TS5 Plus, which is $100 more expensive, not even considering the sale, this one will allow a triple display setup. So you can have like 4K 60 Hertz. This one's 4K 144 Hertz, and this one is Quad HD at 60 Hertz, the LG Dual Up. And I also have the MacBook running as a display here as well. And if I wanted to, I could get a third display, but it's just my desk is too small. I can't physically get another display here, even though I have one over there. I would much rather use that extra Thunderbolt 5 port on the iVANKY, the third one here. I would much rather use that for what is my SSD enclosure here. And then I would use another one for the display, the 4K 144 Hertz display, and then I could have another display going into that other one, a high performance display as well. And then if you have a non-high performance display that you want to use, you can just plug it into the HDMI port there. The second biggest pro for the iVANKY FusionDock Max 2 is it is not only the current Thunderbolt 5 dock with the most ports, it is the most ports on the front. So if you have a large desk and you like to have your SSDs, your different peripherals plugged in the front so you can easily remove them when you travel or when you leave your home or whatever, or when you're taking your MacBook on the go, this one has the most ports on the front by far, and this is the ports on the back. Yeah, that could be a pro or a con. For me, it's a con on a small desk. I don't like to have a bunch of cables coming out the front, but for a lot of people out there, I imagine that's actually a pro. And ultimately you're getting just way more ports and you're getting way higher stability through every single port when you do go with the FusionDock Max 2. Also, a quick note on the whole most of the ports being on the front thing. I have noticed that you could, if you're just attaching regular peripherals, there are high quality sort of angled connectors here for your USB-C cables that allow you to, you can do things like this and like that. You can have a cable angled down. You can have a cable angled to the side, even if that makes more sense for you. You can literally just put it there, unplug that, put it like that off to the side. And all of that, to me, on a small desk is better than just the cable like coming out like that, with a bunch of cables just coming out like that. So there are solutions to the whole lot of ports being on the front if you do have a small desk. And these might be useful to you. I've literally bought more than I know what to do with, but it might be useful to you even on the back if you want to do that. These could be bottlenecks though from experiencing full speed. Like these ones are 40 gigabyte per second rated, as opposed to obviously if you're using a Thunderbolt 5 port, you want that full 80 gigabit per second rating. The third biggest pro here is that it is also the coolest running dock by quite a wide margin. What that translates to is probably longevity down the line, but more importantly, it's the consistency of the performance. So it has an always-on fan on top of having this suspended enclosure design, which means the airflow can flow nicely and whatever. But what that translates to is less crashes from your MacBook when you're using all the ports. And I can confirm in my day-to-day experience is a noticeable benefit to using this over using the Caldigit TS5 Plus, over using the Anker Prime just has less ports overall, so I couldn't even like plug everything that I wanted to plug. And even if you're not going to use all the ports, by the way, just having the ports there and having that extra bandwidth results in a smoother experience day to day than sticking with something that has less ports but then running it to its max capacity through all those ports. And the way iVANKY, by the way, is able to do this, I have to mention, we're going to get into the cons here, is they're using this proprietary double Thunderbolt 5 cable situation where this will eat up 2 ports on your MacBook. So it goes on this side of the MacBook, and they designed it in a way now where it can be used with a Mac Mini as well. So the cable is magnetic, so even if your ports are not right beside each other, you could still plug them in, which is pretty ingenious design on their part. But anyway, you just take it over here. So we see the 2 ports, and it goes in like that, and it eats up 2 ports. Compared to all the other docks, the Anker Prime, Thunderbolt 5, the Caldigit TS5, the Caldigit TS5 Plus only eat up 1 port. However, for that, you're getting triple display potential as well as just higher bandwidth in general, so a more safe and more smooth experience and less crashing and all that, like things we don't want to happen, like we just saw in the beginning of the video. And then these 2 cables over here also have a cable connector, and it just goes into the back over here in the laptop ports. And it has a convenient on-off button there too, which not all the docks have. The Anker does and this one does, but the Caldigit ones don't have the on-off button. So if you want to just turn off your dock and still have it plugged in or have it at your desk, this one, the iVANKY FusionDock Max 2, allows you to do that. Another con here is that the fan is always on. It is an extremely low noise fan. Like my fridge is louder than this, my AC is definitely louder than this, but there is an always on fan. So if that's something that might bother you, personally, I've filmed YouTube videos literally with this thing right beside me here, and the mic didn't pick it up. So that's how low of a sound this makes. And personally, I'm a fan of white noise in general, so not really bothered by that. Plus it's proving its purpose through the smoothness of the experience day to day. And another con, obviously, I don't know if I already mentioned this, but no 10 gigabit Ethernet, 2.5 gigabit Ethernet. That's a con for people that are going to use the Ethernet port, but I don't use the Ethernet port. I have 3 gigabit Wi-Fi. On my MacBook, I get like 1.5 gigabyte speed pretty consistently on upload and download, so I don't see the need for the Ethernet. But I imagine if you have like network, and anyway, I don't even know what to say there, but like the people that are using Ethernet ports, just keep that in mind. When you buy the top of the line dock like this, you can rest assured, and this has been my experience as someone who's reviewing docks now, I know firsthand that these things hold their value. Like the FusionDock Max 1, which is still awesome. It's the best Thunderbolt 4 dock for MacBook Pros, bar none. And you can buy it using the link below and get the extra additional 10% off using my code as well. That one is only $299, and I sold it for $200. So it's currently $299. I sold it for $200 1 year after use. So it's basically an investment. I don't consider it a full sunk cost when I spend whatever, $360 on this. I don't consider that money gone. Number one, it's increasing my productivity. It's expensive from a tax perspective if you're using it to make money, and the money that you've invested in it is recoverable. You'll still be able to sell it for at least $200 probably a year or 2 down the line if you really wanted to. So again, well worth the investment in any of these docks, but specifically right now, if you have a MacBook Pro, M4 Pro or M4 Max, or the upcoming M5 Pro and M5 Max, then definitely iVANKY FusionDock Max 2 currently the best for all the reasons I just mentioned. Also, another con for me personally about the ports on the front, again, I have a small desk, like there isn't much depth to this desk, so when I do need to connect cables to the front, it just takes up desk space unnecessarily. The Caldigit TS5 Plus, it has more of the ports on the back. That might just be a me thing. I can't imagine that many people have desks as small as mine. I'm in my living room right now, which is also my kitchen. Like this is a small condo, so just keep that in mind. And primarily the rubber feet are on the bottom, so it's intended to be used like this. But for me, because of my limited desk space, I've been using it like this without issue. They don't recommend to do that, I don't believe, but they don't say anything about it at all. So I've just been using like this and no issues at all. So again, the rubber feet are only on the bottom here as opposed to on these sides. And yeah, I won't focus on the comparison any more than I already have. These other docks, as far as I'm concerned, especially these 14-port docks like the Caldigit TS5 and the Anker Prime Thunderbolt 5, they're not priced competitively with the Max 2. You're getting way more here for marginally less money. What is it, like an extra $40 US maybe, and you're getting almost double the ports? It's just a no-brainer for me. And yeah, like the only reason I would go with the Caldigit, again, either the Caldigit TS5 or the TS5 Plus, is if I want to use it with PC and Apple products at the same time. I'll also put up here compatibility and stuff if I haven't already, what MacBooks this is compatible with and all that, but you have to have a silicon-based chip. If you found any value with that conclusion up front, sorry for how long it took. Drop a like, drop a comment with any questions you have. This is a small channel, so I'll be able to respond to anyone and everyone, and I do have a pretty maxed out setup here, so if you have any intricate questions about your ideal setup, and obviously you can buy these from Amazon, you can buy these from iVANKY themselves. They both have 30-day return policies. Subscribe if you're interested in more videos like this. I'm covering a lot of Apple products, covering a lot of iPhone products, accessories, and things like that. Just cool tech that I love to buy. I've got the Whoop band here, Aura, a lot of health products as well. So that's what this channel is about, is just me geeking out over all the options and breadth of product experiences we have, and they keep releasing more and more every year. So it's endless joy and endless tech to explore. And that's what this channel is. So if that interests you, feel free to subscribe. And yeah, hope you found that helpful. But now let's do the deep dive. Let's talk about first thing that you notice with all the Thunderbolt 5 docks. When you're using a Thunderbolt 5 port, and especially on this one, you get 3 on the back there, 3 usable Thunderbolt 5 ports, which is more than the Caldigit TS5 Plus. That one only has 2 usable Thunderbolt 5 ports, and it's $100 more expensive. I'm gonna keep saying that because it's actually pretty crazy how they're able to offer this at this price. You plug it in there, that's the biggest benefit you're gonna notice. You need to have a 80 gigabyte per second Thunderbolt 5 SSD, and in order to get a large storage SSD like 8 terabyte one I have here, you're gonna need to get an SSD enclosure and an NVMe SSD inside. It sounds complicated, it really isn't. If I can do it, pretty much anyone out there can do it. You literally just buy the 2 separate products, plug one into the other. I'll put it on screen here. And this one allows me to replace all these random SSDs, and it allows me to transfer my videos from my Mac to my SSD super fast, 5-6 times faster in my practical experience with 4K video. And that makes me basically want to shoot more video. It gives me the freedom. I don't have to keep worrying like, oh, where's my SSD? Where's this one? Why is it taking so long to transfer it to my MacBook so I can edit it on Final Cut and all that stuff? Just having one SSD, having it be a Thunderbolt 5 one, is well worth the investment in my experience if you are constantly dealing with large files. If all you're doing is just looking to connect as many peripherals as possible, this is still the best dock, but I would argue you don't really need to go with Thunderbolt 5 in that case if you're just attaching random peripherals. But the Thunderbolt 5, again, you're future-proofing yourself, you're holding the value of your investment here, and you can save the money up front by going for the FusionDock Max 1, or you can spend that extra money up front and obviously sell it for more as the years go on, if you do decide to sell it when something newer comes out. So yeah, replaced these 3 with this, which is awesome. On the data transfer speed, honestly, you just need to be mindful of the cable you're using and the port you're using. Make sure if you want to get the max potential speeds from your SSD, you have to connect it to one of the 3 Thunderbolt 5 ports there, which clearly indicate that it's 80 gigabit per second. 80/120 gigabit per second. Those Thunderbolt 5 ports are the ones that will actually accommodate your super fast SSDs and your extremely mega fast SSD in this case. Yeah, that's all I'll say on that. In terms of the display functionality with MacBook Pros, absolutely no qualms at all. This is what you get when you have a company that its bread and butter is creating docks for MacBook Pros. So they really don't skip a beat. They always have the best display performance, bar none. iVANKY. That was the case with the FusionDock Max 1. It's the case now with the FusionDock Max 2. I'm getting 4K 144 Hertz, Quad HD 60 Hertz, no problem at all on the LG Dual Up and the LG OLED 4K over here, while still having the MacBook display open over here. If you were wondering about 244 Hertz, it's not possible. It'll flicker and stuff like that, but that was the case with every single dock. I've tried 240 Hertz on the LG display here, and it'll flicker occasionally. I believe that's a limitation of the MacBook itself, the Mac software. It's not a limitation on the dock at all. While I'm talking about displays, is they do include, unlike all these other docks, an extra Thunderbolt 5 cable over here. And these things are not cheap. It's like $30-40 US, I believe, for a premium Thunderbolt 5 cable like this from iVANKY. And they also include an HDMI to USB-C cable, which is major key if you were planning on obviously using the 3 Thunderbolt 5 ports for your displays. Then you have that additional HDMI port there. Also, if we're talking about the display support and the data transfer speed, I neglected to mention on the M3 Max over here with the Thunderbolt 4 ports, pretty much the same performance. You're just not getting the same speeds when you use a super fast SSD like we are using here. And that's why I think a lot of people might just be best served with getting the FusionDock Max 1 at $299 US. So unless I plan on some point in the near future upgrading to a Thunderbolt 5 capable MacBook, I wouldn't, which is basically, am I upgrading to an M4 Pro, M4 Max, or an M5 Pro, M5 Max when those come out? Again, the tech here is super new, and that's probably why I ended up paying so much for this SSD enclosure with an 8 terabyte NVMe SSD in it. I believe there are supply issues with these peripherals, which take full use of Thunderbolt 5 technology. Yeah, might as well just touch on design once more. Again, I believe I've already said this, but lay it flat, stand it vertical, super stable in both aspects, even when I have a bunch of cables on the back there. In terms of crashing, it only crashed a few times while I was Zoom screen sharing. It'll just sort of black out. The Zoom screen share will stop and then I'll just reinstate it. Aside from that, compared to all the other docks, it crashed way less. That's pretty much the only instances of it crashing while Zoom screen sharing. And I did tell iVANKY about the whole Zoom screen share issue with it randomly disconnecting at some point. They are looking into that, and it could just purely be an issue with the ports combination I was using. So just keep that in mind. The enclosure, the fact that this runs as cool as it does, literally I can touch my Caldigit TS5 Plus right now and it is extremely hot. And not only that, the Caldigit TS5 Plus runs hotter, but then the SSD, when I connect it to it, runs hotter as well. Versus the iVANKY Max 2 here, which not only runs cooler, but then the SSD I found runs cooler as well when it's connected to this. I don't know why that is, but that's something I noticed. And that's regardless of, obviously, I wasn't even transferring files when this was running hot, this SSD on the Caldigit TS5 Plus. Whereas I literally was transferring a lot of files on the FusionDock Max 2, the enclosure itself was cooler versus it not being used on the Caldigit TS5 Plus. Again, wild, I don't know what's going on there, but, and again, I'm not technical, this isn't a technical review, this is just for regular people looking to optimize their workflow. If we have a technical person who wants to explain why that might be the case in the comments below, by all means, but just don't hate on me. We'll cover the price now, let's just have a quick price section. So the FusionDock Max 2 is regularly $449 US. On sale currently for Black Friday, it's $399 US. But if you use the 10% discount code, you'll get it for just $359 US. Again, that is remarkable. Keep in mind, I sold my FusionDock Max 1 after a year of use for $200 US. So a net cost of buying one of these things is pretty low, especially when you're expensing it for tax purposes. And if you want to compare that to FusionDock Max 1 right now, FusionDock Max 1 right now is going for $299 US, which is about $60 less expensive than this one, but my 10% off code works for that too. So again, you're looking at about 100 USD difference if you go for Max 2 versus Max 1 right now during the Black Friday sale. And the TS5 is going for $399 US right now if you can find it. Sold out in most places. Again, I really don't know why you would go for that if you're in the Mac ecosystem. Anker, $399 US, and I believe they have a sale going currently, but it's still, it might be like $20 US cheaper than this Max 2 or something like that after the sale. But with obviously way less ports. So I don't think that's worth it. The Caldigit TS5 Plus, like I said before, is $499 US. So by far the most expensive, but again, unjustified if you're in the Mac ecosystem. I'll go FusionDock Max 2 all day, every day. I hope you found that helpful. If you have any questions, like I said, small channel, I'll respond to everyone. Comments below, like, subscribe. I'll just end the video by saying that the iVANKY FusionDock Max 2 is a safe buy. This is Safe Buys, and catch you on the next video, guys. Peace.